We have our work cut out for us, but I am fully confident that my colleagues, each elected by our wonderful community, are prepared to do that work. The majority of this evening's meeting is dedicated to the formalizing of the roles and function of this year's committee. We will also discuss how we would like to review the Memorandum of Understanding for School Resource Officers, also known as SROs. I am grateful to the community for tuning in to watch our work this evening. And with that, we are ready to accept public comment. Per School Committee Policy BEDH, members of the public are invited to speak for up to 3 minutes regarding items that are not on the agenda. For items that are on the agenda, the public is asked to please wait for that item. The committee does not typically respond to comments during public participation. Hello, Mr. Ballas.
Good evening. Hello. Yes. My name is Mike Balulescu. I live on Maple Street in Acton, and I'm the president of the Acton-Boxborough Education Association, which is our district's teachers union. I just wanted to get up to the mic tonight to introduce Leah Lally. Leah is a longtime Miriam teacher, actually was my son's teacher in 1st and 2nd grade. And Leah has a new role on the ABEA Executive Board. Her new role is that of School Committee Observer. Now, when this was mentioned this morning, there were a few eyebrows raised about the term observer. So if it's helpful for you to think of her as the ABEA's liaison, perhaps that makes more sense. We chose the word observer just to make it clear that her role is observational, that you will see a lot of her at the meetings. Her job is to be here in person and hold this space and attend in person, because we think that's really, really important to be informed about the business of the school district and of the school committee. But that her role is not as spokesperson. The person whose job it is to step in public is me. So I just wanted to introduce Leah and let you know that you'll be seeing a lot of her. Thank you so much.
All right, well then, thank you so much, Mike. I think that it's your turn, Peter.
Great, so welcome back to a new year, everyone. This is typically an organizational business meeting that's mostly focused on making sure we pay bills, things like that. There are a couple of other items that Kyra already mentioned, so I won't go into detail now on those. I just want to say welcome back to all of our educators. We had an opportunity to see everyone again this morning. It was, the first time really in 3 years we've been able to hold an in-person assembly in the high school auditorium with all of our staff present. So it was really wonderful to get back to that. One particularly poignant moment for me came after, and one of our teachers who is in their 4th year approached me and said, it's so funny, I'm in my 4th year now, I just received my pen, congratulating me on PTS, and I'm a mentor now, and I've never been to this ceremony. Because I missed out on all of that opportunity. So really just excited to be back. Our teachers are awesome. I have to give a special shout out to all of the teachers over at the preschool, Douglas and Gates, because they did all this additional work to move into the new building. We're going to get to see some glimpses of that. You have no idea how hard these folks have been working, and this was the fun part, because the hard part was also packing everything up and purging. After collecting 20 years worth of elementary classroom supplies, you have no idea what that looks like. So really, they were awesome. They were, in a great mood. They were helpful to each other. They were supporting each other throughout the whole process, and we're just really excited to be opening that school. Thank you, Kyra, for speaking as well. I know I've received a number of comments, just so appreciative of school committee comments this morning, so thank you. We're really off to an exciting year. We talked a little bit about the goals of the district, particularly around social emotional learning, thinking deeply about some of the equity gaps that we've seen, with the understanding that these have been persistent equity gaps over generations. Our educators didn't create these gaps, but I hope that all of our teachers understand that I think we have the skill and the will to be able to be the generation of educators that can start to close some of these equity gaps. So I'm really excited about that work, and then just continuing the work around culturally responsive schools too, and getting more teacher leadership, more teacher voice in that process. So really excited to get the school year going, and it was a wonderful opening ceremony. I will say Mike also gave some very fantastic words this morning, very fantastic. He was more eloquent than evidently I am. But our Association Vice President Amy also gave some words, and she was a lot funnier than I am. So, I was playing cleanup this morning. So thank you to everyone who participated, and thank you to all of our educators, and welcome back. I also just want to follow up because I know some of you are aware that J.D. Head had a wonderful opportunity to be able to become Vice President of Capital Projects and Operations for Fitchburg State University. So he's wrapping up this week and he's starting at the new job on Monday. So we've been doing some, thinking about how we want to reorganize. Ultimately, for this year, I've decided not to fill that vacant position, but instead, Dave Vertolino, who previously served as a Director of Finance and Operations in Medway, is actually going to pick up both of those. So it will make our central office a little bit leaner over the course of this year. And it also allows us to step back a little and assess what roles we need in central office over the course of the year, and then be thoughtful about what we do moving forward, rather than just rushing to fill a position. What we have done in the interim, we've done a little bit of shifting. We know that we have to continue to support the building project. So we've shifted Anthony Wassel, who was our custodial manager, over to the new building project to support kind of getting that building commissioned and overseeing the rest of this construction process. We think he'll do a great job there. In his place, we had a 30-plus year veteran of the district in Bobby Glenn, who has been on one of our grounds crew, who's exceptional. He's going to step in as custodial manager on an interim basis. And then we have Kate Crosby, who has been our energy manager. She'll continue to do that and take the lead around sustainability with the new building in addition. And then Jen Lachaume has been our transportation manager for a good number of years. She'll continue on in that role. They will all report directly to Dave now, rather than having another person in that mix. So I just want to thank Dave because he's certainly picking up, 50% more work. And I really appreciate all the time and energy he's already put into that. He has obviously big shoes to fill because JD has done a lot for this district over the years. We're very grateful to him. If you really understand the building project, JD knew sustainability backwards and forwards from a buildings perspective, and he really took a lead in this, and we're just so appreciative for everything he's done. So congratulations to JD. We will miss him. And we also are so fortunate to have Dave, who has experience overseeing both of these operations, to be able to step in this year. So that is my big superintendent update for the night, just letting you know of some of those shifts. And I will turn this back to you, Kyra.
Thank you, Peter. I would like to welcome the current chairperson of the School Building Committee and former school committee member, Mary Brolin, to give us an update along with the superintendent on next week's opening of the new I want to call it Boardwalk, which is a regional thing. It's a Boardwalk campus. I'm really excited.
Excellent. Well, I want to thank you all for having the opportunity to be here. I am so excited. Thank you for having us here and the opportunity to share everything with you. As I said, I'm really, really excited about the opening of the Boardwalk campus. I do want to caution everyone, the school committee and the public, that it is still an active building site for the next year. We still have to demolish the 2 buildings and build the ball field and the parking and all of that. But it is a wonderful resource to provide to our students at Douglas Gates and the Carol Huebner Early Childhood Program. I want to say a huge thanks to the taxpayers and community members who have supported us, the Mass School Building Authority who is supporting us through this. We have an incredible building team with Skanska, our owner's project manager, who's helping us manage, Arrow Street, the architect designing, and Consigli, the construction company, has been just a fantastic partner. On the school building committee side, the members have been fantastic, and the administration has been just there all the time. I honestly don't know how Peter does it, because I feel like he's given his full attention to us in the middle of all the work you have all done with COVID and all the other issues the district faces. And Marie Altieri, JD, they've been fantastic members. Our principals, both past and present, have transitioned and really been supportive of the schools, and just all of the other people. Brendan Hearn has put in so much work this summer on technology. Andrew Shen, you know, I kid around that Special Projects was a really good name because you get away with a lot there. Things he never thought he'd be doing, he's been supporting, and he's built a gorgeous website for the Boardwalk campus. Just a fantastic team. And I know there's many in the district who I don't see who are supporting this effort, and I thank everyone. I want to take a few minutes just to say how we got here, because it's been a long process. I was told this would be a 7-year process, and I didn't believe it. I'm like, no, I can do this faster. But in fact, it's going to be a 7-year process. We first commissioned a facility study where we looked at all the facilities across the district, and that study showed us some real challenges with the Douglas, Gates, and Conant buildings. We then moved to a visioning process, and we involved over 80 community members, district staff, as well as members from the community for a couple full-day sessions where they really did visioning about what could it be, what should it be, and they provided, I think there were 5 different design possibilities, like combinations of schools and sites and where are the priorities. We then took that to forums in the community, and we explained all of these possibilities, and then we heard a few more that the community offered. And we did a survey where we had hundreds of responses from the forum attendees, but we also recorded everything so people watched it online and could respond to the survey. So we had a lot of input about what it should be. This led us to the idea of a twin school, not a new idea for Acton-Boxborough Regional School District, but then also the priority that we address the needs of the preschool. So we might call it a triple school, we might call it a 2.5 school, I don't know. And the reason the community came to this decision was first building on the success of the Parker Damon building. We saw that you could have two distinct school communities in one building and have the efficiencies of one building. And then we also, the community and all the people involved, considered time and money. It's less expensive to build a twin school, and by bringing the preschool into it, normally MSBA doesn't help reimburse with a standalone preschool, but if it's in with another building, it does, so we got their financial support. But even more than money was time. The community really recognized these are 7-year projects. If we did them one at a time, it'd be 14 years before you had 2 schools addressed and 21 before you had the 3rd school addressed. Here we got 2 schools and the preschool addressed in 7 years. So that was really important. From that visioning and all that community input, we moved to a feasibility study, really looking at site analysis. And we looked at the Conant campus, we looked at the Douglas campus, we looked at the Gates campus. And we also talked to the community about different kind of approaches, and one was looking at swing space. What was the community's appetite for moving the students out of the Gates school, potentially out of the Douglas school while we built? And it would be a shorter time frame, but it would be a large expense, over $1 million, that was not at all reimbursable by MSBA. And in the end, there was no appetite for swing space, and so we built right next to an existing school. We also looked at the properties, and as amazing and gorgeous as the properties are at Conant and on the Douglas and Gates campus, there's a large amount of wetlands. And then with wetlands, you have kind of circles around it protecting those wetlands, which is absolutely critical in our environmental time. And so we needed to respect that. And so the conclusion was the best siting was going to be the Douglas and Gates together on the Gates campus. So the feasibility said that. We also continued to gather community input, and we heard resoundingly from the Douglas and Gates community, particularly the Douglas community, because they were potentially going to partner on a Conant campus. They wanted a school in their neighborhood that they could walk to. We heard from the West Acton businesses. They want that flow of people in the community for business purpose. So the parents, the community really supported a school that they could walk to. So both of those pieces of information came to a conclusion that we should be building on the Gates and Douglas properties. So then when we started to really design, there was, with the buildings in place, there was one configuration. The present footprint of the school is what fit on the property, respected the boundaries of the wetlands, and kept it in the West Acton area for walkers to get to conveniently. So that's what we have done. Then we thought about, well, what are the needs if we're going to do this? And one of the big needs was accessing the campus. And so, you know, I don't know how long folks have been in the community and how involved they've been on the campus. I'll be honest, I hadn't gotten onto the campus till I did this. I'm from Boxborough. But there was a boardwalk, and the boardwalk has been improved over the years, but we did a significant improvement with a covered boardwalk to facilitate movement from the Elm Street side over to the Spruce Street side. And so that really opens up the ability for walkers who were in the Indian Village area to be able to come onto the campus. It's also, frankly, an amazing community resource now. It's gorgeous. The wetlands in that area are beautiful, and being on that boardwalk, for me, is peaceful, a beautiful part of our environment, and it's going to be very educational with signage that we're going to have. So in the end, we've resulted in our triple or 2.5 school. It's very large, but it is, we were able to bring this resource to the community faster by having these schools together. It is beautiful. It is filled with resources, rooms that provide outstanding educational opportunities for our students. And through this whole process, everyone's interests the children have been at the forefront of everything that we're doing. So we are going to face some challenges as we move forward, but Peter has put together an incredible team that is already addressing challenges as fast as they can, and the teachers are being really, really responsive and saying, you know, a lot of praise for the way it's happening. I want to end with, I was over there Monday just on my own, looking and loving it, and a member of the community stopped me and he said, "Oh, are you involved with this?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "I want you to give a message to the teachers. I am an Acton resident. My kids are no longer in the district, but this project is amazing, and I want to thank the teachers for all of their patience throughout this process, because many of them have been involved in an active building site and will continue to be so for 1 year. But the resource that it is for the community is fantastic," and he was just expressing so much praise for the teachers partnering with us on this. So I'm going to move it to Peter.
So Mary just did all the heavy lifting. I'm just going to fill in around the gaps and do some fun things. So what you're looking at on this first slide is actually the north entrance, the stairwell, which is the entrance closest to the boardwalk itself, over by the wetlands. And then you're seeing some signage for each of the schools. No one's noticing this, I can tell by the look on your face, but I purposely did that because the preschool's on the first floor, Gates is the second floor, and Douglas is the third floor. I was very proud of myself for thinking of that, so I just wanted to highlight that for you. We're very, very excited that the play space is coming together and is going to be ready to welcome students on Monday. This was something that was slow because we were waiting for some final equipment and some teams to be able to come in from out of state to finish this off. But what you're seeing actually is a picture from today, up from the 3rd floor, looking onto the cafeteria, and then 2 of the playgrounds. For the upper, level students. The kindergartners and first graders and preschoolers are still going to need to go across the boardwalk for play area because that area that they'll finally have for play space is actually located right where Gates is right now, and that's the next year of construction. But we do have a play space for them. Our contractor has made sure that it's safe, fenced off, everything else. You're also looking in the upper right at the rear entrance of the school coming off of the boardwalk, which is just a spectacular way to enter the building. It really provides just a nice welcoming environment for people to be able to walk into. Again, looking at some play space, picture of the boardwalk. If you haven't yet visited the boardwalk, I would encourage you to do so over the weekend and get a first-hand look at it. It's really a cool place. We're pleased to be able to offer that with the community. And then again, another picture of the rear entrance, and what you're looking at, the area that looks wood-clad is actually a side of the cafeteria. This is the Learning Commons for the new school. It's just a breathtaking space. This was designed so that students could actually come down for all school meetings, grade level meetings. It could be an interactive space learning. You're seeing temporary projections set up because some of the tech is not quite ready, and projectors and screens are lagging a little bit behind. So those will be coming, but we do have temporary solutions set up. On the right side of that, the glassed-in room, that's actually one of the 2 STEAM labs. For the school, that's the Douglas STEAM Lab, and really being able to get kids more involved in project-based learning from a young age. You're looking at a typical classroom in the building. This happens to be a Douglas classroom. Believe it or not, the angle that I'm taking is from the middle of the room, not one of the edges. And what I did is I was, first aiming toward the windows to give you a sense of what the teaching wall looked like and the typical student learning space. And then I turned around into the upper right corner of the room and looked at kind of how students are greeted into the room, the cubbies that are set up, place for them to be able to sit, take off boots, hang up coats, snow, pants, things like that. And have that kind of be a special welcoming area in the room and not part of the classroom and not in the hallway. And then the bottom right picture is actually a small breakout room. And every 2 classrooms share one of these spaces for students to be able to work either in small groups together or with a teacher working with a small group, something like that. So that was an exciting small space that we were able to get into this project. Now we're on the Gates level, and this is a kindergarten classroom. So you can see slightly different furniture. There are slightly different cubby configurations because we thought kindergartners needed something just a little bit different. You're looking at some of the signage that's around the hallways. You will see a lot of things are named after trees, environmental products. So there's going to be a lot of signage relating to the environment in this building. And then what a typical hallway looks like, and our hallways include teaching spaces, whiteboards, tack boards, things like that, to really bring the learning out and make it visible for people. This is the 2nd floor of the library. It's really spectacular when you are looking at it from below on the 1st floor, looking up. It looks like stars and moons in a night sky. It's really a neat look. I intentionally, though, stayed off the 1st floor because that's where all the library books are stored while we're waiting for the shelving to arrive so that we can unpack. So this is a nicer view right now. This is on the Gates floor, looking in to the library. You can see there's a lot of different views looking in. A lot of the idea behind this building was to keep the learning visible for students and make that exciting for kids to see each other learning. And then I am in a stairwell. I'm back in that north stairwell that I showed you at the first slide, looking out over the wetlands from the 3rd floor, which is the Douglas floor. It's just an absolutely spectacular view, and you can see a little bit of the boardwalk roof in that photo. And then the other photo is looking down into the larger of the 2 gyms. There's also a small gym in the school that's not quite complete. We're waiting for some flooring to be completed over the next week or so, and then that will be ready. But this is the larger of the 2 spaces. To give you a little sense of perspective, this gym could fit more than one each of both Douglas and Gates' previous gyms. and the small gym here was bigger than either of those gyms. So we're really excited about the amount of space. This is just an image of the website. I think we forwarded this to you so that you could take a look at it. But this is where we have tried to put all of the information for families to be able to get to one place. I know there's never enough information for everyone because, you know, everyone has just a little bit different situation and different questions that might arise. But we have tried to put as much information in one place as possible. I think also creating a sense that while they're individual schools, they're also a school community together. And we wanted to make sure that that was an idea that we were floating from the beginning. We are putting a link in there in case the community wants to be able to take a look at information. And I'm going to just highlight a few things for you off of the website. And the first thing I'm going to talk a little bit about is the traffic flow. We have a remarkably constrained site for the next year. There is very, very, very little real estate available to us, and that's going to be a challenge for us all year long. I don't want to sugarcoat that because it's already presenting problems that we're trying to solve on a daily basis. But, you know, for the next year, we have the new building operating, but both the Douglas and Gates schools have to be decommissioned, demolished. Then we have to build parking in fields before we'll have actually more parking on the site. So we're really working on, you know, kind of a shoestring budget of parking and access to the site right now. So it's going to just require a lot of patience from everyone, from our staff, from our families, community, things like that. So just want to put that caveat out. What we have done is you're looking at, I guess, the area in the blue and yellow on the right. That is where parent drop-off is going to take place for the schools, and it's on the Elm Street side, so you're looking at the old Douglas building in red. And the area to the right of that is actually where the basketball courts have been. Once this project is finished, those are going to be reconditioned and returned back to the community for use, but we do need that space temporarily in order to be able to get any staff parking on site. We have, you know, parent drop-off highlighted in the blue and yellow, but that's also a staff parking area. We have many staff who will be stationed in this area. I actually didn't include it, and I wish I did, but the staff today were actually outside practicing drop-off and pickup as a group so that they were well prepared for what to expect. We will also have a large 20 by 40 tent specifically designed to be an all-weather tent that we can leave up all throughout the winter for some protection from the elements while kids wait for their parents to pick up. You know, there's a short walk from, you know, the tented area and the drop-off area where kids won't be, you know, undercover down into the boardwalk, but then they are covered for most of the trip, and then again another short walk to get to the school from the covered area of the boardwalk. It takes about 5-6 minutes for a student to walk that space. The Gates students have been walking that for the last 2 years to get to recess. So we're fairly confident in typical times, but we want to recognize that students now will have backpacks, musical instruments, things like that. So, you know, we're going to have staff to support them. The orange lines here represent construction traffic only, so you'll see that's into the Douglas site so that they can actually demolish the building and then start constructing parking in fields. And then we have additional staff parking over on the left for just trying to get all of our staff. We already know we don't have enough spaces for as many as we need, so we're, you know, our contractor has been actively exploring more strategies to try and fit some extra spaces in for us. So we anticipate a little bit better parking situation by Monday, but not much.
You want to mention the walkers?
I'm sorry, I didn't.
The buses drop off. You're going to go.
Next slide. So buses actually come in on the Gates site, and you're looking at the Boardwalk campus from above, and that's the school in black, and then the school in red is the current Gates school that was going to be demolished. That whole side in red, you can see kind of the red fencing around it, that's off limits to us this year. So it's really tight to the building, what we actually have access to. So emergency vehicles and our buses will actually be using that pathway highlighted by yellow. Green indicates sidewalk walkage into the school for walkers to be able to approach from there, and then also from the boardwalk in the back of the school on the north side. So, you know, this is designed, we have about 11 buses that serve the Douglas and Gates schools. We anticipate about 5 to 6 will be able to drop off at any one time. I will note, though, we also have preschool drop-off, and we have about 100 preschool students that come on different days of the week depending on services that they need. But many of our preschoolers arrive by van. And that's really important that we have access for those vans. We also have 2 case collaborative classrooms in this building, and those students who are in those classrooms will be arriving by van as well. So that bus loop is going to be pretty active morning and afternoon times with buses and vans coming and going. We will also have some accessible parking, and I don't know if you can, here we go. This area over here will have a few accessible parking spaces. We have some more accessible parking spaces over here. And then we also will have some visitor spaces over here, and we're actually working with our contractor to add some additional faculty and staff parking, but also a little more visitor parking, hopefully in this area over here. They're going to create a temporary lot for us. And that was new as of this morning. So as I said, construction projects often evolve by the hour, and this one is certainly no different. I want to jump a little bit a year ahead into fall of 2023 and make sure you know what that is going to look like. So what you're looking at now is the current Douglas site. You will see there's no more Douglas School. In place of the Douglas School, which would be just about right here, we will now have another beautiful ball field and kind of a small multi-purpose field that could also be used in addition to just baseball, softball. We will have a whole new parking area that also includes a drop-off loop for families accessing from this side. And then you can see the reconditioned courts come back in play after the year. So all of that has to take place once the building gets decommissioned, and that is work to be done over the course of the next school year. Back to the Gates side, you can see Gates now has disappeared, and in its place we have a wonderful parking area here. When we construct the parking area, we're not exactly sure of the timing yet because we need to know when the parking is done, but this will actually have solar canopies covering the entire parking area, and then solar panels all along the roof. Will also happen over the next year or so, and the energy produced by this building is intended to offset the usage completely. We also have a solar battery array coming in over the course of this year so that we can, store energy on site and then think about how we can meter energy over the course of the day where we're using our battery storage at peak energy hours and then, charging the batteries during off-peak hours. So really, take advantage of the energy efficiency of the building. I'm going to go, here, I showed you these 2 playgrounds right here and also over here. The one that's going to take the extra year is kind of that kindergarten, preschool, possibly first grade playground. Gets built on this side of the building where Gates is currently located, and then there's another grassy play area that comes online here. Again, once this part of the project is done, we also will have a large flat play surface here. It's going to sound a little gross, but it's not in reality. It's actually the septic field, but it's just a nice grassy surface. So that's, as I said, it sounds gross, but it's okay.
It'll have really nice grass.
They will have, yeah, it's great grass. So this is really what the site looks like. I'm going to expand this parking area now and just show what we are tentatively planning for kind of some possible parking traffic flow. This will be largely staff parking and some visitor parking, but we will now be able to have 2 lanes of traffic going through. So the blue signifies kind of what our, vans and special education transportation might look like coming in through here. And then yellow, we will have the ability to have some parent drop-off on this site after the year of construction. So, there is, a little bit of hope on the horizon here. It's just going to be a tough year to get there, and we want to recognize that. But hopefully that gives you a little bit of sense not only of kind of where the building is at right now. It's ready to welcome kids. We're so excited about that. But also, what some of the operations are going to look like now, but also looking ahead to the next year when we finally really come online fully. Happy to take any questions and comments.
That's absolutely fabulous. Absolutely fabulous. I'm so excited.
I'm so sorry. I forgot to say one other thing. We did receive some questions that came into us. So we actually developed a frequently asked questions page that is in your packets or should be with your packet tonight. And then we will publish, not every single one of the questions needs to be on the website, but we are going to publish nearly all of them out to the website. And this document that you have tonight will be posted with the packet on the school committee webpage.
I want to be a little bit annoying and go back to the drop-off plan because preschool wasn't addressed. And I imagine that's a little more stressful for parents. You wouldn't want to drop them off and have them walk the boardwalk by themselves.
Yeah, the preschool drop-off is at the preschool.
So it's going to go around like the main loop or?
Yeah, depending on what it is also, there may very well be, some parents who choose to drop off on the other side where the kids can walk, or staff would obviously meet them there and walk anyone who's, we're not going to let preschoolers ever walk across that boardwalk by themselves.
Thanks, Peter and Mary. Having the pleasure of serving from the visioning committee all the way up to today and having the building project be my foray into the school committee, I felt a couple things I wanted to add and a couple questions, pointed questions for you guys. The first I would say is one of the things that I recall was most interesting about choosing our architect, Arrow Street, on this was one of their partners on this, which was the landscape architect. And what really sort of enticed us and sold us on Arrow Street as an architect was the amazing possibilities that the landscape architect shared with us about the site and about the ability to integrate the wetlands and the boardwalk into the campus. And I think you can really see that, and in fact even shows in the names of the hallways and some of the play spaces. The other thing I wanted to highlight, and Peter gave us a little bit about this, was that the building is going to be a triple net zero building. So that means that the net consumption of electricity and water will be zero and waste will be zero. So recycling and composting for everything on site. I point this out because I work in the building space today, and we were talking about this 4 years ago, 5, maybe 7 years ago, and it's just today that my company is starting to put net zero energy usage as a key point that we're selling products against. So we were really ahead of the curve there, and it's going to be, I think JD put it really well, it's going to be one of the most, if not the most sustainable school building in the Commonwealth, and I think we should all be very proud of that. The other area I wanted to highlight that was of great import as we were discussing and designing the building was making sure that the building was not only accessible and meeting current accessibility standards, but also provided for an extremely inclusive environment for all students who are there. You'll see those breakout spaces, the ability to push in, learning centers, all include all of the students, and really happy to see that we've got space back to bring students from the CASE Collaborative back into our district, which is a really important inclusive measure. And then finally, just looking at the pictures that Peter took today, and having been on one of the last sort of public tours, I want to say 3-4 months ago, it's amazing what has changed. I drove by today and I saw lots of hard hats and yellow vests crawling around that building like ants. But to see those pictures of the classroom, and I just sort of, I want to express my sincere gratitude and thanks and empathy for all of our teachers who are going into these pristine spaces and making them feel like a home and a place that has life and soul and just a really amazing place for our students to learn. So finally, the question, Mary, is how are we doing on budget and schedule?
We are on budget, and so we still have a fair amount in contingencies, although I will be honest, I see a lot of that, maybe all of that, getting used up over the next year. The big thing I'm waiting on is the asbestos situation in both of the buildings that we're removing. And I keep saying, but you've budgeted for that, right? And they keep telling me yes, but I'm still always afraid that it's going to be even more than they anticipated. But I believe we are going to be on budget, maybe a little under budget, with the note that, the timing is challenging for some things because of COVID, electronics are having trouble getting in and all of that, but we hit the market at a beautiful time. We hit the market when people wanted to be working and couldn't be, and so we came in 2.4 million under what we thought it was going to be. So our guaranteed maximum price is already 2.4 million less than the community voted and approved for us to spend, and we will not be spending that 2.4 million because now it's like not in the project anymore. So that's a great thing for the community. For timeline, we are on time. We are opening. More praise to the teachers because they didn't get in quite as early as they wanted, so they've been in since last Thursday, and they're working miracles in a short time with beautiful energy. I've talked to a few of them, and they're just so happy and grateful, and it's just wonderful. Because of the parking situation, we did have to delay a little bit of work. So I was told all along we were going to end of August, early September of 2023. But it turns out the contractor and OPM had in their mind, really it was going to be April or May of 2023. But because of the parking, and we've had to delay some of the work because of that, it is going to be August, September. So if you look back at our first schedule, we are on schedule and we're going to meet that, but we're not going to be ahead the way they had thought we might be. So I'm really pleased with the process through COVID and all of the delays. The consigli has been amazing. When something got delayed, they figured out, well, what can we do now? So that they just kept all the pieces moving, and the building is opening on time and the site will be turned over to us on time.
Thank you.
Yeah, very amazing school. Thank you, actually, to make it happen. So, two questions. One is, I'm supposed to, because the school is opening next week, so I guess we already have, the school is already open to welcome the new students, or some have some orientation or something?
So we had kindergarten orientation, but, you know, unfortunately, we're still finishing construction, and so kindergarten orientation had to be pretty well choreographed. So we did have them in with their families today, and gave them the traditional bus ride that all kindergartners get before school starts. But we really are not open for kids in tours before the first day of school.
Okay.
So we will have staff, you know, on every square inch of that building, making sure as kids come in, they get to the right place.
Yeah, second question is about the parking. So, because we are claiming the 000, right? I cannot remember what those, but I just wondering for the parking, do we have the, say, for EV charging?
Yeah, we will have designated EV spaces when the parking lot is complete.
I just want to add and invite you all, we're having a grand opening for the community on Saturday, October 15th. We would have loved to have done it earlier, but because we're so tight on schedule, we haven't been able to, and absolutely the children and faculty and staff have been the priority.
Having gone through the rehearsal for drop-off, have you made any changes to the times when parents will be able to come in and drop kids off in the morning? Or did you learn anything in the process of going through it today?
You know, I was over at the building early in the day, and then I was checking in with other schools in the afternoon, so I haven't actually checked in with the principals. So, you know, I'm sure, you know, I know when I stopped in, I actually watched a little of the rehearsal for a few minutes, and based on the teacher feedback as they were talking it through, I know they were just making changes on the fly, just to make, you know, as they get more eyes on it. So, you know, I'm sure they've made some changes. I can't tell you what those are. And I am also certain that whatever plan we open with will change every day. You know, I think, you know, when you have a situation that's really tight and is new, you have to put the best plan you have for the moment into action, knowing and expecting that you're going to revise it constantly to try to refine things. I think there is, you know, an upper limiter to the quality of what we're going to be able to do because we are constrained by space. But within that, we're certainly going to continue to improve it.
One last question regarding, considering that there is a complexity of drop-off and that there is not a lot of on-site parking, though I know there's another lot that may have been found, what's the capacity plan for buses if we end up with buses at capacity? Do we have additional buses we'd be able to bring in, or what is that? Because I know the high school is at capacity for some of their routes.
Yeah, we have additional buses as a district that we can always use. We're not talking we're going to need 4 extra buses for two elementary schools. It might be maybe 1 extra bus or something like that. We do have capacity to shift bus routes around if we find that we're getting more riders than anticipated. That certainly takes time too, because quite honestly, most of it's hiring drivers. We have, a couple drivers on medical leave right now, which is, the case in any workforce. We do have flexibility. It may not be instant flexibility, but we certainly, if we needed a driver, we would add a driver in order to be able to accommodate it. I think one of the benefits of being a regional district from a financial standpoint is if we add transportation costs, they're at least 80% reimbursable by the state the following year. So, and that's currently been averaging somewhere between 85 and 95% over the last couple of years. So it's not, adding transportation cost is not the panic for us that it is for many other districts.
We all set, everyone? Brilliant. Thank you so much. We're so looking forward to getting in there, and congratulations. Okay, we are going to have a discussion of the process to update the Memorandum of Understanding for, staffing update. We're having a staffing update next. I'm pretty sure we are. It's just not, it's not here. We're having a staffing update, and I'm pretty sure that means I'm welcoming Marie. Hi, Marie. Thank you so much. We will get to the SROs after this.
Hello, everyone. It's great to see you all. I'll be brief. I don't have slides. You had pretty extensive amount of detail in your packet. It has been updated in the addendum, not substantively, but because we've hired a few more teachers since last week. So, you can, it'll go get posted with the rest of the packet. But we're thrilled with our hiring for this year, and we're in good shape. So I think in the packet last week, I said we had, quote, over 40 teachers hired. As of now, we have 43 with only 1 opening, and maybe 1 long-term sub that's not filled at the moment, but we're in very good shape. And we have 9 new administrators, 43 new teachers. So a total of 52 new certified educators in our district. We introduced them all this morning, so that was really fun. So it's almost 10% of our teachers we're hiring this year. That's not atypical, it's fairly typical that we hire about 10% each year. And we're going to bring our new administrators to a meeting in the near future for you to meet them. We had, that our important goal is around increasing our educators of color. We did a nice job with that this year. Our principals and our hiring department leaders, et cetera, did a really nice job with that. So we have actually 16% of our hiring this year were candidates of color. That includes 8 or 9 total, 4 of whom are administrators. So that was really great. And we're headed toward a goal of having 10% of our educators be educators of color 2 years from now. And we've gone from 3% to 6 or 7% to hopefully we'll be at 10% in a couple of years. There's more information about sort of our onboarding and our mentoring and our orientation for our administrators and our teachers that have happened over the last couple of weeks. We are within budget. We budget for a third-year teacher as an average, and we have come in within that budget. And this time last year, maybe the last 2 years, we had serious issues with support staff hiring, between COVID and then the economy last year. We are doing much better with that. We still have need for cafeteria staff, for some assistant positions, and definitely substitutes. So substitutes continues to be a source of concern, and we're working hard to sort of see what we can do to attract more, but those are the areas that we still have openings. And I think that's about it. And there are details in there, a little bit about each of our new 52 educators. So please take some time and enjoy sort of reading that. Happy to answer any questions.
Great. Hi, Steve, what's up?
Good evening. Am I on? I should know by now. Hi, good evening. Yeah, I had a few questions. Thanks and congratulations on all the good work with the, the building project and with the personnel changes that you had there, especially increasing the number of diversity hires. I noticed something, and I just sent everybody here the article I found from the Wheelock School, research on teachers in Massachusetts and recent changes in the market. And I saw some parallels between your report here in the packet and also that report, which is about all of Massachusetts. In that there's some things that I noticed. One is that, as she said, I think it's Assistant Professor Chi, I can't remember her name, is that across the state, now there's a lot of people exiting, teachers are exiting districts, whereas it didn't happen so much last year. And many of those are younger teachers, which is often the case, but more now, and they're often white teachers, as opposed to people of color. And so that has helped to help districts to do what you've done, which is increase that. And also, but there's a big bump I see. I don't recall from your, I hope I'm getting the numbers right. You had 24 last year who left the district, in addition to retirees, people who retired. This year you have 10 people retiring, which is a pretty small number, but you had fully 47, I believe, that were leaving for another district. That would include people like J.D. Head, it includes administrators and teachers, but mostly it's teachers. And that's a huge number. It's double last year's. And so I'm wondering if that's a cause for concern or something good, or how it relates to the trend that I mentioned of more younger teachers leaving districts or leaving teaching altogether. I mean, there are a lot of things can be said. I mean, I'm assuming you have 10% of new hires are 10% of the full faculty, and
30 seconds.
10% are leaving this year, which is a lot. So I'm just curious about what that means for the budget and for the quality of teaching and all of that. So a lot of stuff there. So if you can answer some of that, it would be great. Otherwise, thank you for this, everything you're doing to start the school. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure thing. So we did have more teachers leave the district this year than we've had historically. It'll be interesting to see what happens in the next few years. Some of that might be COVID related. Most of it is not veterans. Much of it is first and second year teachers, and partly it was very hard to hire enough teachers the last 2 years, or to hire teachers. So we were hiring later, we were hiring people with a lot less experience, that kind of thing. So I haven't fully figured out exactly why this number is so much higher. We also had a lot of turnover in our principals, and so you have different decision makers than we had a couple of years ago. So all those things taken together, yes, we have more people who left this particular year than other years, and we're watching it, and the point is well taken. It's, you know, some of it is industry-wide or education-wide, and some of it is maybe local, but we're definitely trying to analyze it, and we'll keep watching it.
Hi, Evelyn.
So I guess, thank you, Marie, for the update. Right? I guess as important as it is to recruit, retention is also important, right? So we'll see how we do with retaining the teachers of color and diverse teachers that we've hired in the district. That will be telling for us. If we want to keep them, we need to create affinity groups and do our best to keep them in the district. So I think we've done a good job trying to attract them, but we'll see. We'll see how we do, because it's a tough district to be a person of color. So we'll see how we do.
Can you tell us a little bit about plans to iterate on the good work that you did in recruitment last year? So we made the lovely videos that are great. Adam did a great job with his interviews in those. And I agree about retention, but also we know that this is probably going to be an iterative process. So I'm hoping that the videos are not going to be it this year, that we're going to do something more. Has there been any thought for that next step for this upcoming hiring year?
Sure, we've done a lot of things in the last year.
Police chiefs sit down and jointly develop a series of operating procedures that then get attached to the MOU so that they're publicly available for people who want to know how this police will operate. Examples of operating procedures, I'm not going to go through all of them, but I know they're in the legal memo from Colby. One would be, are the resource officers in uniform or are they in plain clothes? What should everyone expect? Another example would be that how would arrests take place in school, and what would be procedures if police arrested someone? Just to give a couple quick examples, but it's really an effort to be transparent. We also went back, and as you know, Jen Faber is the new director of DEI to the district. We're excited to welcome her. I asked her to go back into the notes from the DEI Family Advisory and do a brief memo, which we've included in your packet, about the recommendations the Family Advisory came up with respect to the Resource Officer Program. Several of the recommendations from the Family Advisory are actually included in the Memorandum of Understanding. A couple of those to highlight them. One, that there should be a public process to be able to receive comment about the Resource Officer Program, about ways that we can continue to improve it. Second is a joint evaluation of the resource officers by the Superintendent and Chief of Police. And third is to have a complaint process by which, you know, members of the public can submit complaints about the resource officers or the program. So those things were recommendations of our Family Advisory. They're also in the MOU that's developed by the state. And I think, you know, when I talked to Kyra about this, one of the things we wanted to do, you know, before we even had a conversation about the MOU itself, is to understand from you the process you wanted to engage in around, you know, looking at this MOU and developing it. We do have a resource officer program currently. You know, so we started as a district with the assumption that that would continue. That's obviously the purview of the committee and the community. But we started with that assumption, and I think, you know, what we were proposing, two possible processes. Obviously, I have to, you know, by law, work with the chief around the operating procedures, so you would see those come forward. If we consider this like a traditional policy of the school committee, one option is to send it to policy subcommittee, have the policy subcommittee work on it as a subcommittee, get it to a place that they're comfortable with, and then bring it forward to full school committee for a first read, comment, and then a second read, and then a vote. Or sometimes a third read. I think maybe we've even gone to a fourth read at times, but you know, to go through that traditional process. Or if it's something that you wanted to have the whole committee do, which can be challenging, I'll be honest, is to have that just as a whole committee discussion. I think the only reason I would suggest doing it as a whole committee discussion and not policy is if you felt the MOU was already in a place that you were comfortable with. Otherwise, I think, quite honest, my recommendation would be to have policy sub look at this and be able to take its time.
So just to emphasize, we are about to have a discussion about the location of the table, okay? We have to agree to the location of the table, and then we can negotiate. So the question is, do you want to send this to policy first, have policy do a bunch of work on it, and then bring it to the whole committee, and then we discern together as a whole committee? Or do we want to do this process in open meeting as a whole committee, do multiple reads, and then do a vote? So that's what we are discussing this evening. I saw Evelyn's hand first, then we will go to Adam and Rebecca.
Yeah, so it doesn't matter for me where it goes, but what precedes where it goes, that is important, so that we can make informed decisions about where it goes for discussion. Has the district done an analysis of why we would need school resource officers in our district? Have we done an analysis of who the school resource officers typically target in our district? There are some unanswered questions that we need Peter and his team to bring to the table and inform us about why we have these school resource officers in our district. And then we can then make a decision whether we want to take this to policy or want to talk about it here. At least that is my personal take on this.
Yeah, I mean, we would certainly want some information about what the committee wants to see in that regard, so that we could bring the right information to the table, but we're happy to provide, whatever information we have that we can help with the discussion.
Thanks. Yeah, I guess mine is a similar question. The first most basic question is, what is our timeline? The state expected us to sign and execute an MOU with no advance notice. And now they're saying, okay, no one's doing that, so we have some time. How much time do we have? Can the current MOU stand until we can go through a process which was detailed out by the DEI Family Advisory, which is my preference, which would then lead us to sort of Evelyn's point, which is let's take the time, figure out what we want to do, what the information we want to collect, and then we can take that to policy and have them put together a more detailed MOU. So the big question for me is, how much time do we have, and is there a placeholder between now and when we would sort of implement what the DEI Family Advisory recommended?
So what I'll say is, we already have an MOU that's in effect with the police, which is the same MOU, I think probably dating back to 2016 or something like that. And it's been signed since. It's the same MOU, and it's been unchanged. So that will remain in effect until the committee changes it, is my discussion with our attorney. The piece about what's the timeline, I'm not so sure I can necessarily answer that for you effectively. I mean, the timeline based on the law is the committee's supposed to pass it. We're already not, rushing to meet that deadline. So the only answer I can give you is the timeline is the degree to which you're comfortable not being in compliance with whatever legal requirements there might be. But, quite honestly, I think on something like this, doing a good job is better than just doing a fast job. So, I'm not necessarily in a rush, but I can't answer the question for you.
Thank you.
Because I'm not on the policy subcommittee, and this is something that is really important to me, I would like to be a part of the discussion. And I feel like it would be better held if we all had an open discussion, at least to start.
Hi. I have to agree with Rebecca on this. I think at least one read-through with committee to be able to come up with some of the points that the policy committee should look at makes sense to me. Give the opportunity for us, for the community, to hear what's in this, to have an opportunity for discussion, and then take it to policy to see where the parameters are, to be able to fit some of our interests into it.
I'm going to respectfully disagree with my two esteemed members over there. Having a committee of 11 go through a 12-page legal document, of which much of it we can't change, and we'll spend a lot of time arguing about the things we can't change, doesn't seem like a valuable use of our time. I think, however, that having a smaller group look at some of the recommendations from the DEI Family Advisory and put together guardrails by which the policy committee could then evaluate. That not only gives the school committee members who are interested an opportunity to provide input, but it also gives the community members who are interested an opportunity to provide input. And that being said, any school committee member or member of the public is more than welcome to join and sit in a policy committee meeting, which is an open meeting, and listen, provide public comment at that. So I would feel strongly that this is an important thing, but it's also extremely detailed and is going to be defined by what the state is asking us to do first and foremost. And I think that it's better for a small group of interested parties to work on that after they receive more specific input from both the committee and the community.
So I just want to reiterate that out loud for everybody who's listening. What's going to happen is if it does get moved to policy, any member of this committee can sit in on the policy meetings. They can't participate if you're not a member of policy, but you can listen in on the discussion. And then it will come out of policy and come to us as a whole committee. We will have a discussion, then we can send all of that discussion back to policy for then a second read, right? I did that right? Yes. So there is opportunity for members to input, even if they are not members of that subcommittee. And again, with the public, if you're a member of the public and you want to participate in any part of that process, then you can listen to that subcommittee, you can submit comments to the whole committee, you can watch that policy iterate from beginning to end. So I just want to put that out there. I'm going to give it to Evelyn, and then I'll let you speak.
So are we proceeding with the assumption that, I may be confused, so please correct me, but are we proceeding with the assumption that we're keeping school resource officers, and so we're going to be signing this MOU, and so we're going to be looking at this MOU to sign it? Or are we having a discussion at some point on whether we even want to keep school resource officers in the district before we can start to look at the memorandum of understanding that we need to discuss? I'm confused about the process.
You know, that's actually the purview of the committee, Evelyn, not me as an administrator. What was presented to you is based on, you know, the idea that we currently have an SRO program, but you know, quite honestly, that's really the committee's determination, not mine.
So maybe we need to back out. We need to back out and think about whether we even want to have school resource officers as a committee, and maybe decide on that and vote on that. And then if we do decide that we want to have school resource officers, we can then tackle the issue of the memorandum of understanding, because we're doing it in reverse. There's no point in taking this and spending anybody's valuable time on it if at the end of the day we're not going to proceed with it. We're putting the cause before the whatever they say, the cart. Yes. So we need to take a step back and think about this, at least in my opinion.
So Rebecca and then Adam, I see you, Steve.
I think that's exactly what I was pointing to, was maybe we need to take the read of the room before we spend any more time on it, because I'm not sure how many people would agree that, you know, the question is, are we keeping the program or not keeping the program, and then deciding how to design the program after that.
Thank you. All right, so I think what I hear and what I would recommend the committee do is first thumb our nose at the state and continue to keep the MOU that's in place while we take a look at the program as a whole and get input not just from the committee but from the community about whether or not we want to keep an SRO program, and if so, what does that program look like? Once we have that information, then my recommendation would be that we take that to the policy subcommittee to put together a legal document. But my question to Peter, which I think is an important one, just to highlight one more time, was around what are we required to do? The state says we have to implement this MOU. And if we don't, the MOU that we have in place right now, wait, I think I'm about to be corrected.
It says we have to implement the MOU if we have SROs.
If we have SROs. So my recommendation is saying that we keep the status quo, which is to say we have SROs, but to not implement the contract until we decide if we're going to keep it. And SROs,
Yeah,
because
but we don't
why?
have all year to, if we do need to sign
We have as
that.
much time as we choose to take unless we want to get in trouble with the state.
Exactly, that's my point. We also do not want to get in trouble with the state, and so this should be a priority for us. If this is our first meeting agenda, it must be a priority. We need to decide. There's no really reason to put this in the back burner and think about it. Let's make a decision, not tonight because we don't have everybody here, but at some point, add it to the agenda, talk about it, and decide whether we want to move forward with it, and then decide what we want to do. I'm not the chair, I'm just making a suggestion about how we should be moving forward with this. Because the one thing I don't want is for us to talk about it tonight, say, oh, this is not a priority, put it there, other things come up, and then we totally forget about it. Next year, we're sitting here, some of us probably won't be here, some will be here, and then those who will be here will not have the opportunity to talk about this.
Quick question for Peter. What are the penalties for not being compliant?
I'm unaware that the law stipulates any penalties for noncompliance. So I don't know of any. Look, I think our district has chosen kind of to ignore some state recommendations before. At times, this would not be the first time. So I really think, my recommendation to you is you have to follow the process that you think is right for this community. And the state reporting, I can figure out what needs to be done with state reporting. And if we're about to get ourselves in really hot water, I will certainly come back to you. But if they need to yell at someone, they can yell at me and we'll move on, and that's okay too.
Hello, Steve.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, it's dangerous to give free legal advice, and it's even more dangerous to take it. But I'm going to try to do some because I know about this, and I spoke with Peter about it too. Just to help to clarify and certainly talk to Colby and get the real answer. But I think she'll say what I'm saying. Don't worry about this. I don't think you need to worry about not being up to date because no one is. I mean, the state did their last template for this MOU in 2018, and pretty much nobody's reviewed it. I'm pretty sure we haven't either until this year. And the state didn't ask anyone to do it until the last minute. But there are two things to keep in mind to keep distinct. One is that you're supposed to, before the start of school, and there's a mention of August 1st in the statute, review the MOU every single year. Obviously, no one's done that around the state, and the DESE hasn't enforced it. So that is just to look at it, and then along with that, there are requirements that Peter's already done, or the admin has done, to report to the state, to do a review of each individual SRO that's in the school system, et cetera. So you have to review this. You're supposed to review this every year before school starts. We're not going to get that. But the other thing to keep in mind is that you have the ability to withdraw at any time. So you could conceivably send this to the policy subcommittee, have them look at the MOU and decide if you're going to add any clauses to it, or you're going to leave it the way it is and just re-sign it with the understanding that, well, this is if we're going to keep the program. And then they can bring it back and you can all agree to it. And then the next day or the next meeting, you can say, we're going to withdraw from that agreement we just signed at any point. So that's a higher level issue, whether you're going to withdraw or not. And if ABSEDG was talking about this, and we talked about the mascot issue and the issues of 2 SROs from the high school being on leave, and I don't know if the police have announced what is going to happen yet, but I'm sure at least one of those is not returning. But you've got to talk to an interim chief in Boxborough, and they have issues out there. So what are you going to do? You have one question: to withdraw or not to withdraw. And that should probably be this whole school committee, of course, making that decision.
30 seconds, Steve.
So I think you need to understand that those are the two different questions you have. And you don't really have to decide on whether you're going to revise the MOU before you make a decision to withdraw. It doesn't affect it because you can withdraw anytime you want. That's all.
Thank you, Steve. So I think what I've heard is that the location of the table is not in the room. We're not going to put it in any rooms yet. So what I think I've heard is that we want to kick this back to admin for information about our current program, right? Is that what I heard from you, Evelyn, that you want to hear? You wanted an analysis of something. What was it? Tell me again.
I want to hear from administration whether they think that it's beneficial to have SROs. I also know there was a survey that was done. I don't know whether it was students, community members. We should see the results of that survey. We also need to understand historically that we've had SROs in the school. Who have they targeted? What has been, have we been collecting data around this? Have they been targeted minority kids, kids of socioeconomic background, low socioeconomic background? What have the SROs been doing? who have they been focused on to be able to make a decision? Because we are in a pretty safe district. I don't know why we need the SROs, but that is just me. But I need to be convinced that we need them. And if we don't need them, then maybe we don't. But maybe others on the committee will think otherwise, but I think that we should look at the data. They've been calling kids to their offices. They've been dealing with certain kids in our district. We need to know. Somebody should be collecting that data. And that data should come to this committee for us to see it.
Okay, so I just want to prepare ourselves for what's about to happen here. So, we're to have this discussion about whether or not we want to have SROs.
Understand that this is where we want to put our efforts, and it's important. We don't want to jeopardize any kid's life, right? If it's very important for us to have SROs, then we also need to seek community input and really feel how the community feels about SROs in their school. It may come out that the community feels that we need them. Maybe what the data is showing is different from what the perception of the community is, but we need to know. We need to know. And it's just like anything else, it's uncomfortable. It's an uncomfortable discussion to have, but it's an important discussion to have, like anything else. And that's what we are all sitting around this table to do.
Yes, ma'am. Hi, Rebecca.
I agree with Evelyn that I think in general we just need to hear a justification for the program. I know historically SROs really grew into prominence after like Columbine and especially after 9/11. I'm not sure that any risk with not having SROs doesn't offset with the downsides. I think that's all data we have to collect, and I certainly want to engage the community and hear what people have to say, especially at the high school, because that's really where you're going to see the biggest feeling and a lot of the data to be collected.
Okay, so, hi, Adam.
What I'd like to see is both some data, as Evelyn's asked for, definition of our program, and then an opportunity to share that with the community to get feedback from the community as a whole. I feel pretty strongly that this committee should not make any decision about the future of SROs without getting community input, and I don't think we can get community input until we provide clear information. And I think, Evelyn, you make a very good point, which is this is one of those projects that could linger. And so I think that we should put a timeline on this, that we should get feedback and make a decision, dare I say, by December, what we're going to do.
Thank you. Chair Emeritus trying to make this hard for the new person. Peter, did you get all that?
Yeah, I think what I heard, 3 requests come out, some type of an administrative recommendation around the program. Looking at survey data, Evelyn, I think you are referencing, ABRSC completed a survey last year. Is that the survey that you're talking about? Yeah, ABRSC had done that survey at the time. They shared the data with me, but I'm happy to reach out to them again and bring that forward. And then data on the SRO program and how referrals are. That's the piece, I'm going to look into that and see whatever we can come up with. I will likely disappoint you with that because there's never been a data collection process that I'm aware of for who's being referred to an SRO program or not. I've never necessarily heard that in schools. It doesn't mean it shouldn't have existed, but I'm just saying I'm likely to disappoint you with that. But I'm going to look at what we have.
That in itself is problematic.
Sure.
Yes, that in itself is problematic, and we can talk about that. If there's no data, we can talk about it. If there is data, we want to see it. But if we are not collecting data, that's problematic.
Okay, y'all, so Peter's gonna go back and get us some stuff. We are gonna come back to the whole committee with a timeline and framework. That's what's about to happen? Is that what I just heard? Is that what I understand? Okay, very good. Anything else on this? Y'all? Very good. I think then I get to go to consent items, right, Emeritus? Yes?
You're the boss.
Okay, here we go. So, items on the consent agenda do not usually require discussion and are approved with one vote unless any member would like to hold an item for discussion and a separate vote. I will read each item name, and if any member would like it held, please say hold. Members do not have to attend a meeting to vote on the minutes. Item 1, approval of the ABRSC meeting minutes of 6/16/22. Approval of the ABRSC meetings minutes of 7/21/22. Recommendation to set the Imprest balance of the student activity checking accounts for FY23. Approval of the change of members of the other post-employment benefits OPEB Trust Fund Board of Advisors. Recommendation to approve PTSO donation check of $3,200 to RJ Gray for 8th grade EOY field trip. Recommendation to approve PTSO donation to McCarthy Town School. Given that no items were held, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
Seconded with gratitude to the PTSOs.
So the motion was made by Ben, and it was seconded by Adam. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. The consent agenda has been approved. Okay, great. So then, subcommittee and member reports, school building subcommittee.
Adam, do you have anything to add? I think we covered that one.
Yeah, I think there's a phrase about a horse.
So I think we're all set with that.
Brilliant. So then, pool renaming. Do we need to say anything about this?
Yeah, I just want to, acknowledge, having talked with Adam and worked with him last year, we had a sincere hope that we would be further along in the process by now and be able to come back this fall with a recommendation to the committee. I think, as JD has, been thinking about his transition to the new job, we haven't been able to start that committee. And so what I'm recommending tonight, I'm asking for you to appoint me as the staff representative to the pool renaming committee. Quite frankly, I'd like to get this process started and moving along. But I think allowing me to replace JD on the committee is actually probably the first step that we need to have happen.
Okay, so is there a motion to appoint Peter Light as a staff representative to the pool renaming subcommittee?
Seconded.
Okay, that was Andrew who moved and Ben who seconded. Any further discussion? Brilliant. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Great, that motion was approved. Statement of warrants and recommendations to approve.
All right, folks, make yourself comfortable. I move that the school committee vote to approve the below-listed warrants totaling $28,705,341.55. AP vendor warrants as follows: 22-026 dated 6/23/2022 in the amount of $450,566.24. 22-026A dated 6/23/2022 in the amount of $325.73. 22-027 dated 6/30/2022 in the amount of $1,952,311.83. 23-001 dated 7/7/2022 in the amount of $20,118.91. 23-001A dated 7/1/2022 in the amount of $4,684,372.28. 23-002 dated 7/21/2022 in the amount of $2,440,779.24. 23-003 dated 8/4/2022 in the amount of $1,075,050.65. 23-003A dated 8/1/2022 in the amount of $67,502.18. And 23-004A dated 8/15/2022 in the amount of $18,620 even. Payroll vendor warrants as follows. 22-026PR dated 6/16/2022 in the amount of $2,108,933.87. 22-027PR dated 6/30/2022 in the amount of $1,775,316.05. 22-028PR dated 6/30/2022 in the amount of $14,400.78. 23-01PR dated 7/14/2022 in the amount of $104,653.20. 23-002PR dated 7/28/2022 in the amount of $231,036.94. 23-003PR dated 8/11/2022 in the amount of $131,303.75. Student activity warrants as follows. 22-026BL dated 6/23/2022 in the amount of $1,126.80. 22-026JH dated 6/16/2022 in the amount of $23,873.35. 22-026SH dated 6/23/2022 in the amount of $12,140.21. 22-026HJ. HJ? JH? It's JH, it's junior high. I'm pausing for Dave to just confirm the warrant because we don't typically have an HJ. So I'm going to skip that one. I'm going to come back to it in a moment. So we're going to go on to payroll warrants as follows. P2226 dated 6/16/2022 in the amount of $10,068,932.06. P2227 dated 6/30/2022 in the amount of $1,515,287.29. P2228/P2301 dated 7/14/2022 in the amount of $628,614.88. P2302 dated 7/28/2022 in the amount of $692,072.95. And P2303 dated 8/11/2022 in the amount of $690,335.49. Going back to the last one. Okay. 22-26HJ dated 6/23/2022 in the amount of $17,666.87.
If I can clarify, there are 2 student activity warrants in cycle 26. So 22, the first digits is FY22, 26 is the last cycle. We won't have 2 warrants, both titled 26JH, so my clever staff decided to make it HJ.
Thank you. All right, I made the motion.
You did.
Seconded, and you missed your calling as an auctioneer.
Sold. Okay, so that was Adam, and that was Liz. I'll give that to her. Okay, all in favor? All right, thank you very much. All of that was approved. Thank you so much, Adam. Peter, would you like to highlight anything in the FYI?
I would just highlight that the committee meetings are in your packet, so you can have those dates if you don't already. And then school committee contact information for members of the community who are looking to get in touch with school committee members is also in the packet.
And I just want to point out that even though today was opening day, I've noticed that there have been cars in school parking lots all week. So we know the teachers have been working hard to get ready for Monday. So just thank you so much to teachers for doing all that you do. And good luck to all the kiddos and the parents on Monday. Y'all, it's going to be a really big day. All right, so y'all, is there a motion to get out of here? So that was Andrew. Andrew motioned to adjourn, and Rebecca seconded. All in favor? Aye. All right, thank you so much, everybody. Have a great day. Happy